Hey folks, Aaron here. Welcome back to an anime review. Today we're looking at Sword Art Online, Ordinal Scale. Now, many of you probably are saying, wow, holy crap, where have you been for the last, 2 years for this? Yes, I have been pretty late to the game with Ordinal Scale. You know, it's not that I don't like Sword Art. I actually do have a lot of love for Sword Art. I want to say for the light novels and video games. I've actually played almost every single video game that has come out for Sword Art, and I've also read most of the light novels. I'm at currently number 9 of the main series, and I'm at number 4 of the progressive series. Now, I will say though that, you know, with the anime is hit or miss. You know, it had its strength in the first season, and then it kind of died off in the first season a little bit near the middle part, and then we also had this shift where Gun Gale Online came out. I actually really liked Gun Gale. You know, not so much for Kirito's concept, but I like the action and the concepts of what we saw in the actual series. And then same thing about it. It had its moments here and there. Mother's Rosario was a great arc, though. I think that was probably one of the more touching moments of the whole Sword Art world. But you know, Ordinal Scale came out in Japan in 2016. It then came out in America a year later, around, I want to say, anywhere from the spring to the summer. I believe it was like late spring, early summer, and then finally came out on Blu-Ray, which is the one I have and which I just watched it around December, around that, maybe early January. I forgot exactly, but I know it was about a month and a half ago. But I will say that, you know, I wanted to watch this on Blu-ray because I didn't get the chance of going to see it in theaters. I did want to see it in theaters, don't get me wrong, guys and girls, but the thing was that me and my friend who were going to go decided last minute he couldn't really go. And I'm someone who, I don't like going to movie theaters myself. I know a lot of people go, well, why, you know, it's just how I am. Like, I don't mind, you know, going to a restaurant by myself or something like that, but in terms of going to a movie theater, it's always been something that I've gone with either my friends or family, and I've really never gone by myself to go see a movie. Like, that's just not my cup of tea. If it's like Blu-ray and stuff like that, no, I'll watch plenty of movies by myself. I have no issue with that. And it might seem a little bit weird, but you know, like you're at home, it's different, you know. But that's just my mindset, you know. And I don't give anyone carte blanche or anything for that if they don't understand that fully. But I was really excited for Ordinal Scale because I've heard so many good things about it that I was almost scared to believe in the hype of this movie. Because I mean, not only A1 Pictures did, you know, the animation again for it, but also Ufotable even helped out with some of the action sequences. And I'll tell you right now, you can tell, which is a good thing. But you know, I had so many things that I heard about this that were so good and positive that even for people who weren't big fans of Sword Art, saying, oh, it's really good, you know, even if you're not a huge fan, it's amazing, etc. So I was a little scared, you know, I was a little scared buying into the hype. Luckily though, when I actually saw it, I sat down, watched it, and quite frankly, guys and girls, I'm just being honest with you, I loved it. I think it was an awesome movie. By the way, I will not have, it'll probably say it already in the title itself, no spoilers. I'm not going to go super in depth with this. I'm not going to go into every single little sequence of it. I want to just talk about my general opinions of it, where the story does things right, where it does things wrong, etc. Because, you know, Sword Art Online Ordinal Scale is not perfect. It has some issues here and there, but it's pretty damn close, I think, in my mind at least. So the concept is that it takes place, so Ordinal Scale takes place a little bit after Sword Art Online Season 2, a little bit. You know, a new AR technology has been developed called the Argus system, and it lets people go in the world and actually go almost to a semi-full dive experience where they can feel the real world sensation. So running and movement is based on your physical attributes, but you're synced up into this, you know, kind of virtual simulation world, which is augmented reality, as it's called. That's what AR stands for. And that's where the crux of the whole movie takes place, where Kirito and his friends have this whole new adventure with this AR system. But Kirito's a little hesitant because he's more used to the full dive, and he's, you know, used to nerve gear still at being an SAO survivor like everyone else. But the thing is that, you know, for him it just doesn't feel correct being an AR world versus, you know, a virtual reality or just a regular game. And that plays a big factor into the story with Kirito. Like, there are many times in this movie where Kirito's strengths that we are so used to seeing, like him beating the crap out of hundreds of foes and you know, going against anyone with really cool acrobatic skills and stuff like that, are almost reduced for about, I want to say almost 90% of the movie, because, you know, he's not used to physical feats. Like, you know, Kirito's not out of shape completely, but as a gamer, he's not in shape either. And in comparison, you know, Klein, you know, Asuna, etc. are semi more, you know, I want to say out there when they move around and stuff like that, so they can, you know, do things a little bit easier than Kirito. Kirito always being in full dive, it's made him a little weaker in terms of physical attributes. And I think that's a kind of cool concept because it lets everyone else take a moment to shine in this movie. You know, Klein gets his moments, definitely. Asuna takes the leading role, which is cool because in season 2 she kind of got pushed to the side until the Mother Rosario arc, and you know, I always had an issue with that because I felt like Asuna was probably one of the strongest points of season 1, and to have her, you know, take a back seat to Kirito, it was kind of disheartening at times, you know. But I understand, it's Kirito's the main dude. He's supposed to be the hero, you know, the black swordsman as they call him, which I know people get pissed off with that because they think of Guts right away from Berserk and they go, he's a true black swordsman. But you know, in terms of isekai stuff, Kirito is definitely the black swordsman, and you know, the other world and fantasy stuff, that's Guts. But what's interesting about Ordinal Scale is that at times, because of this concept, you know, for some fans, you might worry that, okay, so if Kirito takes a back seat, does that mean we're not going to get as much action, or we're not going to have him be the super cool hero that we're used to, etc. You know, and I'll tell you, right, guys and girls, right now, don't worry about that, because, like I said before, all the other characters get a moment to shine in this for the most part, and because of that, we get to see a lot of airtime, we get to see a lot of cool stuff from these other players. And even characters from SAO that we only briefly saw, or maybe weren't even mentioned very much, you know, they even get moments of shine, which is really cool. I think that's a nice way of doing things. And, you know, it's some revelations of, I want to say, what Sword Art could have done better with certain concepts of Season 2, even Season 1. Because it keeps the threat there with the whole thing of the Argus system has this whole issue where it steals people's memories, and like I said, I'm not going to have huge spoilers, but that's something that happens pretty early on, where it steals the memories of the SAO units or SAO survivors if they fall in battle, because all the bosses during this giant event, which is all of a sudden like coming out of nowhere with the Argus system, is SAO bosses, where people fighting them in the augmented reality. And it also has to do with another character who is called Yuno. She's a, I want to say, virtual AI of sorts. I'm not going to go too far into depth with her, because if I do, that is big spoilers. But her character plays a big role in it. And also, the second rank of this kind of giant battle using these SAO bosses and stuff like that also has something to do with SAO in general. And I'm not going to go into spoilers with him, but his name's AG. He's definitely one of the central characters of this movie. Now, what Ordinal Scale does right, and I'm going to do this first because it's a lot more right than wrong, is besides the animation being spectacular, like I don't even have to talk about the animation, it's just freaking amazing, especially near the final moments of the show, or excuse me, the movie. I was blown away by that those fights were incredible, and for people who are diehard fans of SAO, you will love how they do the conclusion of the movie. It's so awesome. I really enjoyed it myself because it harkens back to SAO properly, like the original SAO series. In terms of, you know, music quality, that's also a big thing with SAO Ordinal Scale, where Ordinal Scale's music is mind-blowing, to say the least. It really is good. Like, I want to buy the soundtrack, and I'm thinking of doing that probably when I get a chance. I'm going to go buy the soundtrack, either on iTunes, hopefully, if they have it, or just in purchase in general on a CD, because I actually really dug the music of it. It's really, really good. It's really catchy. It just has that great emphasis to it that kept, you know, the movie going really at a nice pace, especially during the action sequences. What I also loved was the English voice actors are present if you want to watch it in English, and if you want to watch it in Japanese, obviously all of the voice actors and actresses are there too. But I did watch the movie in English. Don't kill me for that. But when I originally watched SAO way back before, you know, Gun Gale Online, etc., I had watched the dub for it because it was on Netflix, and that's how I got introduced with SAO originally before, you know, anything else. But I will say that I did, you know, I watched SAO originally all, by the way, through both, because I watched it twice technically. I watched it all the way once through English, and then I also watched it all the way through with Japanese. I did the same thing with the second season, because the games, for example, are Japanese based. They have no English audio, so you kind of have to like get used to those voices, and that was the best way for me to do that. But Ordinal Scale, it's so awesome that what they did was, like I said before, having all the characters from both, you know, both seasons have relevancy was kind of cool. Lifa is probably the only character who's kind of thrown to the wayside. You know, even Sinon is at least present more often than her, which is very strange to me. Like, Leafa was a central role of SAO, you know, season 1, the kind of second part of it, and you know, in terms of popularity, she's definitely like one of the top 3 girls of the whole show, maybe the top 2, because I mean, Asada I think is like the leading girl, then Sinon, and then Leafa is probably right behind her. But you know, Leafa became like a fan service character to the end of the movie, and you'll understand why. By the way, let me also mention, yeah, there's some nudity in the Blu-ray release of Ordinal Scale in terms of Asuna in a bath scene. I'm not gonna say what is shown, but if you go look it up, you will find it without a doubt. You won't be hard to find, trust me. But I was very surprised by that. It's weird to see SAO with, you know, anything beyond a certain level of kind of ecchi, but to see actual nudity in SAO is just like, what? It took me aback for a second, but it was kind of funny, and it made, you know, I guess it would have made fans happy for it, because it's like, yeah, you get to see Asuna and I want to say a bear way, yes. But anyways, what I think SAO Ordinal Scale does wrong in terms of anything is that a lot of times it feels like it harkens to concepts of the first one too strongly. And what I mean by that is it's not that it's not a central focus. Like, I mean, like I said before, the main concept is supposed to be because of the survivors of SAO 1. But, you know, I almost feel like, hey, it would have been more interesting to have a character that had a little bit more, I want to say, not relevancy, but a little bit more, I want to say, reason for is what he does, what he or she does. And they play what I mean by that, because it's really hard for me to explain without getting, I think, people triggered, because the whole concept is, and even explained at the end of the movie, you can't forget about the little guy, because as you know, Kirito and all of them have been featured in this book in Ordinal Scale, which is about the SAO original survivors, and they're the heroes. They're the ones like, oh my god, look how great they did, you know, they were the frontliners, etc. But there were other people in SAO, there were survivors that were trying to fight, you know, and trying to stay alive, and they get pushed to the wayside, and you feel horrible for them, because you know they had names and they aren't featured at all, but it's understandable, because there was over, what, like, I think 6,000 survivors of SAO, and they couldn't ask every single person. They also couldn't figure out who would be more relevant, you know, who was the ones doing the stuff that was important. So in a lot of ways, you know, I understand the concepts behind that. You know, I understand kind of having the little guy be the antagonist, but I also feel that's kind of like a jab at the little guy too in its own right. And that's kind of what I'm trying to put at, is that you're hearkening back to the first season, but you're using a character who apparently was there all the time, but also wasn't there, and then equally was underutilized in this movie in terms of, oh, that's why he's doing this, or that's why, you know, this character is doing that, etc. And that is, to me, a kind of little gripe. It's not a huge gripe. It's not enough like going, oh my god, it's the worst part of the movie, because it makes sense. It makes sense why they did it this way. I just feel at the same time, it's like, could they have maybe used someone else, or could they have used a bigger group of people, etc.? I don't know. That's my only thing, and it's very hard for me to make it really clear to you guys and girls, and I apologize for that, because again, I don't want to spoil it, because I don't want to say who exactly this is and why it's so thing. But I think when you watch the movie, you might have some issues if you really, you know, think about, you know, was this a big enough reason? And then you find out there's another character whose main focus is actually understandable. You're like, oh, he makes sense. You know, his thing is 100%. I completely understand. You feel bad for the dude, but for the other guy who's kind of a villain, it's like, it's a stretch. At times, it's a stretch, and they don't really give you enough to go on to show you why he's doing this. You know, like I'm not gonna go any further. I'm just gonna say it's one of the antagonists of the movie is weaker than the other one. That's probably the best way I could put it without spoilers. And I should have did that before, but I apologize. But overall, Ordinal Scale is definitely a great freaking movie, to say the least. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's a 2-hour-long movie, and it did not feel like a 2-hour-long movie, because it was just so good, and it really had a lot of fan service, not in terms of ecchi and nudity, stuff like that. I mean, it did have some ecchi sometimes, but it was very minimalistic in general. And that one scene of nudity wasn't even longer, for like maybe like a second or two, so you don't have to be like, oh my god, nudity. But you know, fan service, I mean, for like terms of the characters, the concepts, and the fact that a lot of the characters we see in SAO that were kind of pushed to the side here and there, get some time to shine in this movie, and I'm happy about that. That's why if I had to rate SAO or Ordinal Scale between an A through F, I'm gonna give it a solid A. I was almost giving it an A+, but like I said before, I just feel like the main villain, one of them at least, is a little weaker than the other, and I think that's probably my biggest gripe of the movie. That's it. But other than that, I really recommend this movie. Even if you're not a huge diehard fan of SAO, you might like Ordinal Scale, to be honest with you. I mean, you will miss out on some things if you don't know the source material, so I can't say go and watch this movie without knowing anything about SAO, because that'd be stupid. But if you have seen SAO and you're not really a huge fan but still want to see Ordinal Scale, don't be afraid, because it's really enjoyable. Anyways, guys and girls, I am sorry. I wanted to get this out yesterday on Monday, but the thing was that I was so busy yesterday. I had lots of stuff to write, etc. So I couldn't do it. But today I have nothing else to release, so I figured might as well do it Tuesday, right? Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. As always, guys and girls, if you did, please think about hitting the subscribe button and sharing the video around. And if you want to check out my Patreon for various awards and stuff like that. I will talk to you guys later. God bless you all. Until I pass across again in the next review, have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.